What's good, YouTube? Cardfight King here. Aqua Life Baby, you already know. I know I've been gone for a minute, guys. I apologize. Got a move I'm going through. I got school and work to keep up with, so I've been a bit preoccupied. But I'm about to crank out a few videos for you guys. So as we know, the sneak peek for Set 4 is happening this weekend. And the set's dropping next week. So we're gonna be entering a pre-new meta because we already know, where the meta is at, right now at this point, so to speak. So we're going to be entering a new meta. That means that a bunch of decks are going to get a nice boost in competitive play. Now, with that being said, we as Aquaforce players still have some clans in that set that we got to watch out for, but there are also some clans right now that we still got to watch out for. So I'm going to give you guys my top 5 clans that are going to give us trouble slash, kind of being our counter, so to speak, going into the Set 4 meta. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, so my first clan is going to be Gear Chronicle. Gear Chronicle is one of the clans that really is not fast at all. We can definitely outpace them, but what they're getting in Set 4 is actually really good. They're getting what I would call pretty much almost 100% accuracy to riding Chrono Jet. They're getting a grade 3 that, you counterblast one and make Chrono Jet your heart from your deck. So, what that means is that all the Chrono Jet support is going to be very easy to get off. They're getting a grade 1 in there that anytime if you have a Chrono Jet Vanguard, and once per turn when you spin something to the bottom of your opponent's deck, you get to unflip it damage. No other cost or anything. Just have a Chrono Jet Vanguard. They still have the Soul Blast 1 unflipper. So they have a very, very good unflipping engine, making Chrono Jet and possibly other skills free. But then they also still have Amber. They have Lost Age, Chrono Command, and Glimmer Breath. I mean, Glimmer Breath is going to see a rise in the amount of people playing their decks because you're more likely than not all the time going to be on Chrono Jet and with that new grade 1 unflipper card, I'd see people probably taking out or reducing the number of Soul Blasting, the promo Soul Blast unflipper damage cards in their deck, meaning that the Soul is open for use for more usage by Glimmer Breath and other cards. So definitely something you want to watch out for. But again, like I said, we can outpace Gear Chronicle. Gear Chronicle is not a fast deck. They have more pinpoint spinning instead of massive things like that. And yes, they have the guard manipulation and such, but we have a lot of high pressure. They don't have that type of drawing advantage engine. I mean, other than the crit trigger, but the crit trigger is you're sacrificing a 10k shield from hand. It's a one for one. It's pretty much you're getting rid of one and drawing one. You're getting rid of a 10k shield and drawing into a random card. So again, it's not hard. It's not an extremely hard matchup. It can get that way depending on how the game's going and how skilled both players are. But again, we as Aquaforce players, we have the means, we have the resources, and we can definitely outpace them, especially if we build our decks right and again play our cards right. All right, next deck. All right, next deck, guys, is going to be Kagura. Kagura is pretty much right now is probably split into 2 decks. You got Blade Master, who's been popping up around here, and I think they topped Atlanta. And then you have the ever popular Cross. Speaking of Blade Master just has a high potency of retiring. His skill to counterblast 1, pop something, plus Roof Flares, blow up a column. That's 3 cards in the turn. You have Twilight Arrow, you have Neo Flame if you're playing Dragonic Overload, the great as a backup. So the deck has a high potency for retiring, but they don't have the advantage engine that the Cross has. Being able to, abuse Calamity Tower repeatedly, searching out the Cross or the end, but again, you still have access to cards like Root Flare and Mustafa and Twilight Arrow, Neo Flame, but they also have Burnout too. So, I mean, the Cross just has a much better advantage engine than Blade Master, just not as potent in retiring. And so, the only thing is between both of those decks, what they generally share is that they're both not exactly the fastest decks. The Cross is a really good deck, and I do play the deck myself, and it's a very, very good deck. To me, it's going to be a tier 1 deck for the longest time. But, with Aqua Force, and I've played this matchup a bunch of times against my brother, against Juan Mango, things like that. We just have the means to explode. They don't have that. I mean, probably the ace, but they don't have that explosion turn like Lambros does. And if we can time our explosion turns correctly, we can easily put the game in our favor, especially with just Tidal Boring, with Saberflow, Sailor, even Magma Soul, Tidal Soul and stuff. We can still put a high amount of pressure on them and outpace them. If we fall into a Kagura player's pace, we are in trouble. We are definitely in trouble because Kagura has always been a grind control type of deck, like a slow burning fire. And if we fall into their pace, we're in trouble. Anyone falls into Kagura's pace, they're in trouble because Kagura can just build up a ton of advantage, and then you're just not going to have a fun time, till the game's ended. But we as Aqua can definitely outpace them. Even if we fall into the pace a little bit, we still have cards and the means of being able to explode and make a pretty nice comeback. I've done this sometimes. Find yourself in a corner, and it's like, well, shoot, maybe Tidal Bore or Lambros, depending on what you draw into, can get you out of that corner and can put you at a level playing field or even put you on top. So definitely there's that. All right, next deck. All right, guys, so the next deck I want to talk about is Mega Connie. I was debating between them and Narukami, but I'm going to probably give Mega Colonies this spot at number 3 for me. But they could easily be number 2, but number 3 for me, Mega Connie, because in the new, yes, they have you have the machining stuff, not him, but you have the machining things. They're able to stun your rear guards and whatnot, but and the Vanguards and stuff. But what really intrigues me is their new stuff, their G support. Sweet Cocktail and Darkface. Darkface, when you stride on him, you counterblast 1, you stun 2 of your opponent's rear guards, and then if they're still stunned at the end of your opponent's turn, then you get to draw a card for each one of them that's still rested. Same with Sweet Cocktail, except Sweet Cocktail makes it so your opponent cannot intercept with them. They have an 8K card who's not restricted by Generation Break, who is just Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. When it's called to the Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, stun one of your opponent's rear guards. So they have a lot of means to stun rearguards, and their strike cards. They have 1 strike cards who allows them. It's like, okay, if they have I believe 3 or more, if your opponent has 3 or more stun, draw a card on stride and it gets 5,000 power. They have a new stride unit who, if it hits, you can stun your opponent's Vanguard. And I don't think they can ride after that. They're just going to be stuck. So again, they have a lot of means to control the game and plus off of it, which is what's pretty cool about MegaCon now, is that they get to plus off of their stuns, which somewhat separates them from Link Jokers in an aspect. But for us Aqua Force players with Mega Connie, it is going to give us a bit of trouble. But again, that deck is a bit counterblast heavy, and what we don't want to do is find ourselves calling and replacing, because the more you call and replace, that's what they want you. They want you to lose card advantage in your hand by calling and replacing. So sometimes we got to make short fields, we got to make smaller fields, get off smaller combo plays and whatnot. Which is where cards like Orthea and stuff come in handy, because they're not a massive stun, they're more of a selective stun. So cards like Orthea are going to come in handy a lot. But I believe that against Mega Connies, we just have to play extremely smart. We got to play a different game. We got to play a little bit more conservative at times, maybe explode a little bit early game if we can, but definitely, be able to call it back sometimes and play with a smaller field and set up better explosion turns, because our units will be stunned, and so at the same time, we don't want them to plus. Plus, being able to control their counterblast usage is also key as well, I believe. If we're able to, probably take a turn and just killing off cards like the Sweet Cocktail and whatnot, that's gonna really help us later on in the game, controlling their counterblast usage. So there's that about Mega Connie. I'm gonna do some more research on Mega Connie. I'm gonna get some more playtesting in against them. But as of right now, I do see them as a problem, and they could easily be number 2. But right now, I got them number 3 because this next clan has a little bit of something that gives us probably a little bit more trouble. All right, number 2 on this is Narukami. More specifically, Brawlers. I just don't have Brawlers on me because my brother got them in his deck. But Brawlers. When you talk about Narukami, people usually mention Brawlers, because They have the best field wipe in the game, most consistent. You just counterblast one, throw a grade 3 into the soul of the Big Bang Knuckle Buster, I believe it is, and you get to hit, 4 cards. The stride, if you're in Legion and you use the Big Bang stride, you can hit all 6 units on your opponent's field. It's just nasty field wide, but that's not what really scares me too much about them. Doesn't really put me too much of a corner about them. It's the fact that they have a cross ride. Cross ride has been a thorn in us Aqua Force players' sides since set 9 dropped. It's just been very, very annoying having your 16k columns be blocked by 5k, and then maybe your smaller poke columns like 11 and stuff just not working on a cross-ridden Vanguard. So it reduces the amount of pressure because, again, we have a lot of small poke attacks that lead up to a bigger one. And cross-riding still hurts us in an aspect. Like when we use Magnum Assault and after we restand, he's at 11k. Well, we can't continue pressure on the Vanguard, so he's at 13k. So if they have rear guards, we're going to have to go at them with that next attack rather than go at the Vanguard. So it saves them a shield that they have to put out. So Brawlers just give us the trouble in that aspect. Now, can we beat them? Yes, we can definitely beat them. Just like the thing that separates Brawlers from Kagura and Gear Chronicle is that, or rather, that they get to have a field wipe, but they still all suffer the same thing as they don't have an advantage engine. Kagura has the best advantage engine, but Narukami field wipes much better than they do, and the cross ride is probably why I put them over Kagura. But Narukami doesn't have an advantage engine. Sorry, I kind of got a little distracted, but Narukami doesn't have an advantage engine. They rely on draw triggers to build cards. They rely on you not calling out some cards and things like that. So when they hit your field, if they hit your field, then the big bang cards get huge, and then you're just like, oh god. But we can easily outpace them. We can explode at the right times. We can conserve our cards because we know they're going to get blown up more likely than not the following turn. But we just need to be able to play smart against them and know that we can easily outpace them. We can easily put a lot of pressure on them, force a lot of damage early game, and then when we're ready to go into Lambros and things like that, they'll be at like 3 or 4 damage, and we can easily take their hand down to a really nice size, as well as put them in a corner in terms of damage. So definitely don't think that we can't outpace them, because we can. But that cross ride defense and them being able to pump up their rear guards by hitting all of ours is very, very deadly, and I still have trouble with it. I'm still fixing up my builds and whatnot, but just don't discount Brawlers. Trust me, just do not discount them. They're still going to be there because, again, Brawlers have a nice counter to Royal Paladins, forcing them to use more counterblast, and even Shadow Paladins. If Shadow Paladins build up a field but don't retire it for their effects. So there's that. All right, let's get in the next deck. Sorry, I'm rambling sometimes. My neighbor's like going crazy outside. It's weird. But the next deck, number 1 on my list, is going to be definitely Link Joker. Now, when I've seen some of the Bushiroad tournament reports and whatnot, little statistics, I've noticed that Link Joker is probably like the 3rd most played clan there. Even though I rarely see Link Joker in top 8 tables and stuff, I still think Link Joker on the low is still getting represented quite nicely. But I just don't know why they're not making it to top tables quite often, from what I've seen. Now, Link Jokers for Aqua Force players presents us just the absolute worst matchup in my opinion, because with all these clans, Mega Colony Stunning, we can get around that by replacing, or if we're playing a Maelstrom with a stand trigger build, but Kagura, Gear Chronicle, they have Pinpoint Retire, which leaves us some cards on the field. Yeah, we're going to have an ugly looking field, but ugly looking field that can get plays off is better than a field that we can't get plays off on. And then Brawlers, yeah, they can wipe, but we have a better ability to pressure them. They don't have an advantage engine like that. So, we have ways to get around that. But when it comes to locking, that means that our column is turned down. We can't do anything. We can't replace. We cannot do anything. That column is just going to stay there locked. And when they hit something in the front row, then we're going to have to rely on units like Stacia from the back row to help us get to that 4th battle, because we need to get to the 4th battle. Link Joker stops us from getting to the 4th battle because they're locking our front units. They're pinpoint locking our Stacias and things like that. Anything that's not an Orthea, they're just pinpoint locking. And even with cards like Big Crunch, they can lock a whole column and take care of Orthea in that process. So Link Joker Joker definitely presents an issue. And if they're playing some of the Omega Lock cards, and if they hit, we can be in for a world of trouble. But well, the thing is about Link Joker is that when cards unlock, they can draw off of it. So they have what kind of gets us in trouble a bit is when your opponent starts to build a lot of hand advantage to throw out, just having more cards to throw out for our multiple attacks. And so not only being able to shut down our columns and stuff and shut down, being able to get the fourth battle, but they're plussing off of that shutting down as well. And there's nothing we can do about that. Now, how do we play around Link Joker? Well, that's not as easy as it sounds. It's easier said than done, I would have to say. But what I can tell you from the top of my head is I think I've only played against one. I've played against 2 Messiah decks since the set 3 dropped with my Aqua Force deck, and what I've had to do was I've had to create small fields. And I'll show you these short field combos that I like to do, but units like Saberflow Sarah come really good in the matchup, being able to get herself off the field, get us more cards, leave us an open rearguard slot so that it doesn't get locked, that we can call out cards to help us reach the 4th battle with. Stacia becomes extra important in the matchup because they do want to lock our front row, but they, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they have to reach the back row to do it, but Stacia becomes important because you can have a front row card locked, and then Stacia can swing from the back behind that, so it's all fine. Orthea's good in that matchup because they can't pinpoint lock her, but Big Crunch is still there. That's a problem. It's a very hard matchup, I will say that, against a good Link Joker player, if you're both getting your stuff, but you just got to find a way to play around it. You got to be able to work with small fields. You got to be able to play the game where you're keeping control of their counterblast. Sometimes you got to be able to learn you got to be able to take out the rearguards, and sometimes even playing the grade 2 game is helpful as well. But being able to explode on them, being able to do that is really good too. Being able to put them in a corner early. So yes, they're going to lock your stuff, but putting them in the corner early, can be very detrimental. And sometimes you're just going to have to stride and bait out their perfect guards out of their hand with like a vanilla Toddlebore or Socrates or Blizzard and stuff like that, so that when you can Lambros them, it'll be that much more effective. But again, like I said, the matchup is very hard against, a skilled Link Joker player. The matchup is very hard, and so it's going to take a lot of practice and play testing and deck building in order for you to get that down. But again, at least I know in my build, I do have some outs to that. All right, and I'm going to go into some honorable mentions. All right, guys, so I'm just going to go quickly into some honorable mentions for just decks that, obviously going to give us trouble. Always, Sanctuary Guard, Royal Paladins, just them being able to create high-powered columns and beat down. Yes, they're not going to retire our field, which is great. And most times we get to keep our field unless they're, wailing on our Tile Assault like a madman. But this deck just gives us a lot of trouble too, guys. It has potential to. I think we still have a really good matchup against it, but the power columns that it create and the speed that Swordme brings along with it is really, really, really deadly. And so it's not an easy matchup by far, but it's a more manageable matchup than things that do get rid of our field. Shadow Paladin's another one. They have probably one of the best advantage engines in the game. It's ridiculous. They have access to Abyss, who can pop cards in our back row. They don't do too much popping because they do got to be wary of counterblast, but the advantages and they can get, the speed that they can get their cards out onto the field and then off the field, and the advantage they bring, especially with the restanding Vanguard and Abyss. It just can create problems, and they can pressure us just as much as we can pressure. I think we have a better pressure game at times, but we can easily lose control of the match, especially with Diablo. If they catch us with a small field and a resist unit and stuff, Diablo can really hurt us. So definitely, guys, watch out for shadows as always. Plus, you guys already know shadows are just topping everywhere. Next clan I want to talk about is Great Nature. Great Nature, my boy Black Steve. That's one of his main decks. Great Nature presents a problem for us too. Now they do rely on having a field, so to speak, and Savas has the ability to get rid of it, and same with Maelstrom and stuff. But the issue is that they have a really good draw engine. Being able to create multiple attacks with the elephant, I call him Horton, and Crayon Tiger, creating multiple attacks. Then like Crayon Tiger are able to draw off of the retires, and then other cards drawing some more. They have some really good pressure cards in the Wisdom Teller, Stride, and Pencil Koala. They have a lot, and then the Legion, the Legion loop with the Legion mate and the Vanguard and Legion. So they do kill their cards off, but then they draw more cards on top of what they replace in their hand. So it can present a really bad problem. They can, I've played with the deck plenty of times before, and you can easily build up a hand of like 12 cards. It's just a matter of how much can you pressure them. So definitely watch out for them. Next, go with Oracle Think Tank. I have no idea what that is, but it's an Oracle Think Tank card. Oracle Think Tanks also presents us a lot of trouble. Just being able to draw. I mean, we can easily, again, we're faster than Oracle Think Tank. We can outpace them in terms of attacking because they really don't have anything in terms of offense other than, Silent Tom, really. And we can take out Silent Tom, no trouble. But the problem with Oracle Think Tanks is that they build up a heavy defense. They're like cracking through a wall because they build up a lot of cards in their hand. And so that matchup is hard in the aspect that you just got to break through their wall. You got to break through their defenses. You got to keep forcing out cards in hand because you realize they don't run draw triggers. So they don't have any 5K shields. So we can sit there and force out rear guards for intercepting rear guards from their hand and 10K shields on 5K blocks sometimes. So definitely, guys. Be careful in the OTT matchup because they can easily just outlast you and then come back with their vanilla field because of the hand advantage they bring. And last but not least is Bermuda Triangle. Whether you play duos, I think duos, if they can get the peace engine going, can be a problem. But definitely Harmony. Harmony, I believe, is probably the best deck out of Bermuda Triangles right now. Their ability, and I love this deck to death too. The ability to bounce cards, create multiple attacks, draw and plus drawing on top of being able to bounce cards to hand. So I mean, I really think that Harmony is one of the best decks in terms of balancing defense and attacking. Really high pressure offense with multiple attacks and pretty nice columns. Consistency with searching cards out with like Shizuku and stuff, but also being able to draw through cards with like Loris and Amelia. And then they have Olivia, who not only bounces cards back to your hand, but she'll call two cards out to the rear guard circle, creating harmony and activating effects, but also enabling an extra attack. And then she gets an extra crit and then triple drive. So Harmony is definitely a claim to watch out for. They can easily build up a big hand, and have a lot of pressure at the same time they're building up a lot of hand. They have a lot more technicalized pressure than OTT does. They can build up hands like OTT, but I feel like Harmony Bermudas in general generally have a much better offense than OTT have in that regard. But yeah, that's my pretty much my top 5 clans and stuff. It's gonna give us trouble with some honorable mentions. Definitely like, comment, subscribe if you like this. I know it's pretty long. I just had some time to talk. So if you guys wanted me to do another one, which will probably be shorter, but if you guys want me to do another one, please comment down section below on what kind of top 5 or whatever it is you want to see, and we'll get it done for you guys. All right, it's Cardfight King, and I'm out. Peace.